won the Kentucky Derby.
There it is. That's how it ends. And are you jumping up and down? Or are your hands filled full of these tickets worth tens of tens? Is it tens of hundreds, tens of thousands? Because my good friend, my hermano, he has done this, I believe, many times. And we say, Eseri que bola.
My man. I don't know how you do these early mornings, first of all. I'm still half asleep, so I apologize if I don't look the part, but
No, right now with the hoodie, you look like a bit of a track guy. You look like the guy looking at the form. It's like, man, do you think that guy's been asleep? No.
Okay, perfect. I appreciate that.
He looks like one of those guys. And look, you need to know, though. We just talked to one of those guys, Jimmy the Bag, who this is just, it's Christmas times a million. I mean, let's face it. There are things that happen in this world, certainly in this part of this world, that signify that summer's starting, that we're going to actually get some weather. And to me, it's two things. First is the Masters, because it's just slowly melting away. And then when you get to the Derby, which was always my mom's favorite thing in the whole world, just the whole pageantry of it and the enormity of it, because for something that goes that quickly, the amount of as a magic around it, and pressure and excitement in the hats and the fancy drinks and the, you name it. It's just a world event that people who are not used to. It's funny when it comes to gambling on horse racing,
right?
People love this, but they, as a rule, the majority of the population don't do it on a regular basis. And I think now with the World Open, with Woodbine being open, as I said, you only have to go once. Free parking, by the way. Where do you get that anywhere? Nowhere else. You walk right in. Admission is free. And the entertainment, therefore, is actually free. You only have to bet $5, $10 if you bet at all. But I'm saying when you have action on something and you have all the helpful people that you do in Woodbine, because there are people walking around and they are very helpful, and they'll say, I don't know how to read the form. I don't know how to do this. But it is based on hospitality to the nth degree when you go to Woodbine. And finally, Porty, we've got an open Woodbine.
Yeah, we do. And by the way, your analogy in terms of using the golfing vernacular, talking about Augusta, talking about the Masters, talking about the Derby. We got Taba, the undefeated horse, kind of like the Tiger Woods. Everybody's talking about this one. And, Taba may not win. Tiger didn't win either, but just the fact that the presence is there, love it. We got a Phil Mickelson from back in the day, the best golfer ever to never win a major. Well, we got Steve Asmussen, the trainer, who's done everything in his career, but he does not have a Derby on his mantle. He's hoping that's going to change with Epicenter. And then the last thing I'm going to say is look at the PGA Tour this year, all these first-time winners, right? I mean, it's wide open. This year's Derby, a highly competitive field of 20 that can go in several different directions. So you're right. We've got the theater. We've got the drama. I can't wait. And even if you're not a golf fan, the one event you watch, the Masters, even if you're not a racing fan, the one event you watch, the Kentucky Derby, at least on that side of the 49th. But yeah, we're back open. It feels great, and looking forward to a great season.
Now, I put something on Twitter about, because I was joking. I said something about you being back on and doing something post parade. I'm like, yeah, where are the picks? Let's hear those picks. And they said, well, no, you're doing something slightly different this year with the post parade.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, we make our picks 3 days in advance, right? For publication purposes. Nobody does that really, right? I mean, who makes their wagers 3 days ahead of the game, right? Regardless of what the sport is, there's injuries that happen. Weather can play a factor. So you want to make your selections as close to game time as possible. So, what we've decided to do is split up the roles. We have a host, we have an analyst. We have a bunch of people from different publications as well that make their picks, days in advance. So one of us is now doing what we're calling live handicapping. So we're not unveiling our picks until after the post parade. This way we get a chance to see what the horse looks like. We get a chance to see if it's turf, maybe it's a yielding turf course. It can change. Tapeta doesn't really change in terms of the surface, but it can change in terms of the way it's playing. It can play speed. It could be playing horses from off the pace. It could be lightning quick. So it's just giving us another opportunity to, react and just be current and just say, listen, I like this horse, but at 3 to 5, I'm not betting that horse. here's where the value is. Or I just spoke to trainer so-and-so and they said this horse has been working really well. Don't worry about that last race. The horse is good to go today. So end of the day, Mike, you know what? The bettors are the ones paying our salaries. They're the ones paying the bills. Without them, no bueno. We don't have racing, right? So
Yeah,
if you can give them as much information as possible to help them out, I think it's a really good thing. So, and I'm always for trying something new. We try it. If it works, we continue. If it doesn't, we can always go back.
It's what I always say. If you don't try, what do you do? What you're doing the same thing over and over again? Do you eat the same way over and over, the same thing over and over again? I said 100%. In sport, just like in entertainment, if it doesn't work, then try something else. But if it works, so basically forget the ceiling. There is no ceiling when it comes to entertainment, and trying to find ways to get people interested. As you said, it's easy when it's the Derby, because it is a major television blockage of time. You've got celebrities who own the horses. But as I say to people, even though I mean, you're not going to see, maybe Colin Farrell walking around, whatever, but the magic in the race is the excitement of what happens in that backstretch. It's the excitement of every time you go, you educate yourself and you start to look for things and you start to understand, you start to see the form starts to make sense to you. You start to look at words that you recognize. You start to look at the resume of a horse. You're like, oh, well, they did this here. They did this there. It starts to all of a sudden, like the Matrix, all of a sudden, well, I used to say you take the blue pill, but that means something different now.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that helps a race too. I don't know.
Yeah,
but if we're taking a look, and I think it's really interesting. So Tim Yaktine is in there. So do we also put in parentheses Bob Baffert? I mean, are we just saying maybe you don't see the white hair, but it's he's still kind of there a little bit?
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it's kind of just a name, right? I mean, we know Baffert's not there, but he's there. So that in itself makes it somewhat intriguing. And, we spoke of Taba, a horse that's perfect. Horses that are perfect usually don't win, but it has been justified in the past that it can happen. And yeah, you're right. I mean, this is still Baffert. I mean, whether or not he's there in person with the name, he is still there. But I just want a race at the end of the day, Mike, where there's no weirdness, there's no controversy. Just give us the race. It always seems like whenever you put a marquee event on the global stage, something happens in a negative way, right, for racing. So let's just hope it gets off without a hitch. And I really feel like this is a great betting race. Even if you're not into racing, there's so many ways of picking winners. Go with a name, go with the number, just pick a horse that looks good. I mean, your favorite jockey. You don't have to be an expert to win at this game. And I've proven that lots of times. I bring people to the racetrack. I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. And what happens is they pick more winners than I do. So, yeah.
Now, do you like the fact that this year, so 20 horses, so a lot of horses, but one gate, no auxiliary. It's just the solid 20, side by each, which, for a lot of people, they like to see that. They didn't really necessarily like the fact that it was literally broken up into two gates. Does that make a difference for you?
No. I mean, to me, a race where you're going such a long distance, if it was a sprint, then I'd be like, okay, fine, like any track event, the start's imperative. You've got a long run, quarter of a mile before you even get to that first bend. So if you can't figure out things by then you got issues. So I'm not going to be one of those. I mean, I'm a traditionalist. So for me, I like seeing the auxiliary gate, but now they're doing it all in one shot. That's fine. Whatever. To me, not that big a deal. I mean, certain horses that have drawn poorly, that's more of a factor than it is what type of gate they're starting in. So, yeah.
Now, some of these favorites, and they're obviously you've got Epicenter. I see names like Zandon. I say occasionally I see a Messier, and I think a lot of Canadian people who don't know are just going to be jumping on Messier.
Right.
But there's some money. If you go Mo Donegal, Crown Pride, like if you start looking at some of those horses, there's some money in there. So that's where the real fun is, where you sometimes eliminate, maybe sometimes it's where the post position is. There's a lot of different things that you'd analyze. What do you think about this race in terms of favorites versus maybe the actual dark horse that you might want to take?
I think you should get some value. I mean, in more ways than one. First of all, it's a race, like I said, highly competitive. There's no real standout. I mean, I like Zandon. Favorites, by the way, click at like 35% at the Kentucky Derbies. That's a pretty significant number there. Zandon, even if he goes off as the favorite, Mike, he shouldn't be anything more or anything less. I guess I should say in this case, anything less than like 7-2, maybe even 4-1, because he is a stout closer. He has no early speed. He's going to be coming from way off the pace. We know it's a large field. It's a max field of 20. So not only does he have to pass, say, like 18 horses, he's got to find a way to duck and dive, juke, jive to find his way past them, because it's not easy. It's like being on the 401 and you're trying to get somewhere, and they're 4 lanes deep and you're just like, where am I going to go? You can't use a soft shoulder. There isn't one in racing, right? So he's up against it from that point of view. And then there's a bunch of intangibles. We spoke of Taba, the undefeated horse, for Bob, Timiactine, right? So there's that one. You spoke of Messier, right? That's a feel-good story for a lot of hockey fans. Not just so much Canadians, but New Yorkers are going to remember him as well, right? They're going to gravitate towards that name perhaps. And with a lot of superstars there, athletes, they might just go in that direction. White Barrio is a great story for trainer Safi Joseph Jr. coming off a career year at Gulfstream Park in terms of that winter meet. He was the leading trainer there. The storylines are aplenty. We spoke of Steve Asmussen. He's never won a Derby. Epicenter could give him that first one. There's a ton of things, and then horses coming in from like New York and Florida never win, but maybe this is the year that changes. I mean, it's anybody's guess. It's a perfect storm. We might even get some weather if that's the case, and the track comes up anything but fast, maybe good or sloppy. That's another wrench. That's just another thing that's going to, thicken the plot.
So if you, for value or what you're thinking, if you had to think of for here this morning purposes, and again, it's way before the race, and it said we were just talking to Jimmy, and he still likes to see, it's what you talked about in that post parade.
Yeah.
He wants to see what the horse looks like. Are they comfortable? Are they sweating? Like what are, how settled are they? And that's I mean, the thoroughbreds are so highly strung that you really, and look, a lot of horse people are sitting there and they'll just say, I just don't like the look. I'm not comfortable. The horse isn't comfortable. But if you're taking a look at this now, and again, we're like 30 hours ahead of time for value, give me like a try. What do you think is for people who like to maybe even box in horses, because it's a little safer, a little more conservative? What would you suggest?
I would suggest, first of all, you spread. So when I say that, I mean, use multiple horses. Don't just key in on 1 or 2 of them. I don't think that's the way to approach it. I mean, I like Zandon, so I'm going to put him on top. So since I'm starting out with a favorite, I'm going to try to inflate things with some prices on the bottom. I spoke of Taba. I mean, I know it's only a small sample size of a couple races, but it's hard to argue with perfection. You got Mike Smith. He knows a thing or two about winning a Kentucky Derby, winning a big race. Even the other Baffert horse. I mean, Messier. I mean, kind of, gives you that local flavor, bred by Samson Farms. We know that they're getting out of the business. They're barely in it. They've got a couple more maybe years, hopefully, to be around, because they've been such stalwarts in terms of Canadian racing, putting Canada on the Breeders' Cup map. White Barrio is another one that we've talked about. You mentioned Mo Donegal. So to me, I'm going to throw a bunch of horses. I mean, I don't have a strong opinion of any horse outside of Zandon. I like Zandon quite a bit, which is rare for me because I don't like favorites. But because of that, I'm going to throw a bunch of price plays on the bottom and hope for the best.
Now, will you be drinking heavily that day? I mean, because I will be. I'll be shirtless. Neighbors going, what is going on? It's none of your business. Like something like that.
Well, if I'm shirtless and I'm drinking a lot, I'm going to be in trouble because I'm working at Woodbine, so I don't think they're going to like that too much. No, I'll just be wearing the usual type of attire, and I will be screaming at the top of my lungs. And it's a beautiful thing because all of the other racetracks that are going on that Saturday, tomorrow, we all benefit from the Derby, wagering wise, and having all the extra eyes on us. So we make sure we stay off that product. We're going to space our races out, but it's going to be a hell of a day. I can't wait. It's a lot of fun. I always love the Derby every year, obviously, but this year especially, just because I just kind of feel like anything's possible. I hope it doesn't happen because I like the favorite going in. But yeah, we're looking forward to it at Woodbine, and we're excited as well because, Mike, this is the first year in like 3 years where we actually started on time, right? Because of COVID the last couple of years.
There's a lot of people that work there. There's a lot of people that depended upon that facility running at full capacity. And I know for guys like Jim Lawson, that was first and foremost. I mean, to look after all the people in this province that breed the horses, that make this happen, that depend on that, on the prize money. Then, of course, people going through the gate, people wagering, getting that back to normal was job number one. And I think I think you're there. I think that has happened. Now we have, basically it's open. You're open for business.
Yeah.
You've got things going on, and it's a great feeling. So it feels like this second start, the thing that we've been praying for, this normality where the things that we want to do, we're now able to do. And I think Woodbine does represent that. And it's, there's no more fun, a better place. And the product is tops in the world. I mean, very often we talk about sports leagues and what does it look like? What are the athletes like? Well, there's no question Woodbine is world class. So the fact that it's all working together is great. And the fact that you joined us here this morning, so awesome to see you, hermano. Everything is good in your life too? The family's good?
Claro. Hey, anytime. Everybody's good. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, no complaints. How about you? Everybody's good?
Everyone's good, but I am coming to your whole family. I want to see that family. I want to see like a cubano, sort of like a picnic. I want to see carne, just grilling.
Yep. All over you. Oh,
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I want to hear the music.
Right?
I want to, azúcar. I want to say, you want to see it all. It's going to happen.
Yep. The primos, everybody.
All the primos.
It'll be fun. But yeah, come on out to the track too and say hello because, I mean, like you said, we are back. The place, if you haven't been there in a while, you may not recognize it. All the development going around. Yeah. So as much as Woodbine is first class, world class, is going to get that much better when everything around it is developed. So it's going to be something, Mike, and appreciate the time as always.
Hermano, muchas gracias. Hasta luego.
Yep. We'll see you soon. Take care.
That is Jason Portuondo. Porty, always a good man, isn't that? It's so much fun to have him. And it's great to talk about things that are happening, not that we want to happen, but are happening. There's your difference. A little